do that now. And unfortunately, I didn't hit the record earlier, so I just hit that now. The meeting's being recorded. We always have that prompt and that warning on the agenda, so we'll have that for the minutes and assist us with those, and the recording for anyone that did not join us today or was unable. They can follow along by listening to the audio version of the recording we'll put on our website. So we have called to order and introduced new guests. Now, is there anything for the public forum that anyone would like to raise at this time for items not on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move right into item C. That's the approval of the meeting minutes from January 30th, 2026 were included in the packet. Electronic version or printed for those of you in the boardroom. They run from pages 3 to 7, and we would look for a motion to approve those as presented unless there are any recommended changes.
Motion to approve, Steve. It's Brad. Second.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Second by Sean McLaughlin. Thank you very much. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. Next is item D of the agenda. These are for the normal tip modifications that have occurred since we last met in January. They run from pages 9 to 29 of the packet. We do have this time 2 amendments within PennDOT District 2 and 2 within PennDOT District 3. So those are on pages 9 to 10 for District 2 and 19 to 20 for District 3. So we'll first go to Mark, if you're able to cover those, Schultz, and if not, then Lee, maybe to fill in to mention the amendments on pages 9 and 10 from District 2.
Thank you, Steve. Can you hear me?
Yes, thanks, Mark.
Good. On the administrative actions, we'll start off on page 11. We had released the federal funds back to the reserve line item. That's a completion of phases, federally funded phases that are allowed to come back to the tip. So we were able to use those to back to the reserve line item and use those in other projects. So we distribute those out. Bottom of that page, I guess middle of that page, we have the addition of a SR 35 bridge. We have an adjustment to the final design phase for the 2004 bridge preservation project in Mifflin. It's going to now include a Juniata Bridge SR 35, and I believe I mentioned that in the past for a PE adjustment. And then at the bottom, we have a construction bid amount. We were preparing for a construction bid and increase that construction phase estimate slightly. So moving to page 12, we move into also finalized quantities on the SR 522 over Jacks Creek. We had some increases for that bridge project, and we had to make some adjustments to increase that construction phase. On my notes, I see a couple amendments. We're going to pass on those, I believe, until we get to the end. Is that true, Steve?
Sure, yeah, that's fine. Yep.
Okay. And then move to page 13. On page 13, we have the return of funds back to the reserve line item for, we had program funds that were available within some construction phases. That would be the SR 75 A09 in Juniata and the Clinton County 477 RAR. RAR is a scenario in which there was a bridge hit at that SR 477 Salona Bridge, and we had to do a repair in that location. We did have some savings there, so we were able to bring that back to the maintenance and reserve line items. Moving then to page 14, we also have return of funds back to the reserve line item, where we had decreases and changes on our 100% state bridge funds. We were working to utilize those funds for other needs within the TIP projects. In the middle of that page, we come down to another final quantities adjustment for the 220 Youngdale bridges. And at the bottom of that page there, we have final design and an adjustment for a claim we had with Norfolk Southern Railroad. We were able to satisfy that, and the PUC involvement has now been completed and closed. So there was a minor adjustment for that. Moving towards page 15, we had increase. We have an increase to match final estimated amount prior to the bid. So we're adjusting for our final estimate just before it goes out to bid. And that would be for the Juniata 235 Stony Run Bridge, minor adjustment of $35,000. In the middle of that page, we have updated estimates, and as discussed previously, the SR 35 bridge is an addition that will adjust that bridge preservation project significantly. In the lower portion of that page, we're able to advance funds for a phase. That would be for the preliminary engineering phase of the SR 64 concrete preservation. We have this project on the tip. We've talked internally for some time about trying to get that project initiated so that we could do survey work in advance of October in the anticipated draft. This project has been on our current tip, but in the outer years in 2027. So utilizing that small portion of funds, we'll be able to advance that project, initiate the survey, and move forward with that. And at the bottom of that page, we have the header there that starts for our bridge epoxy project. It's a district-wide project, and you'll notice that in this header on page 15, this is for Center County MPO funds. We assigned the project this year, the project for the bridge epoxy project, to come be within SEDA COG, and to help satisfy the needs district-wide, we were able to move and transfer funds from Center County, and then on the next page you also see for North Central into that bridge epoxy project that allowed us to bid that project. And I believe that project bid yesterday, and we had a good bid on that project as well. So moving down on page 16, in the middle there, we had Lewistown Narrows rehabilitation work that's continuing from last year. It was identified that we had some concrete barrier repair needs. So we were asked to increase quantities and increase some funds on that to $200,000 in construction. We were able to pull that from the bridge or the reserve line item. And on the lower portion of that page, that we had originally intended for a roadway surface preparation on the high friction surface treatment needs. That was not necessary to utilize 581 funds, 100% state highway. So we were able to move those funds back to the reserve line item. And on the bottom, let me see here, we have, moving into page 17, we have, again, another adjustment for the high friction surface treatment. It was recognized that we were able to increase the use of safety funds, and the use of safety funds allowed for that 581 state money to be returned. Let's see, moving down to the bottom of page 17, we were able to reduce to match the low bid amount for the I-80 ICM. This was a TISMO awarded funded project, and we were able to return funds, CRP funds, back to SEDA COG and back to the statewide line item as well. And then moving to the last page, page 18, we have federal funds back to the reserve line item, another de-obligation in the middle of that page. And at the bottom, we were able to reduce, that was the reduction of spike funds. So the previous for I-80 ICM in Clinton County was for the return of SEDA COG allocated carbon reduction funds. This at the bottom of page 18 is for the reduction of those same CRP funds, but back to the statewide line item. These were the discretionary funds. So those are the administrative actions. If we go back to the amendments, do we want to vote on the administrative actions or just move into the amendments?
No vote needed for the admin actions. Just we'll vote on the two amendments, pages 9 and 10.
Okay, so looking back to page 9. Page 9, we had coming out of the winter season, we had our PennDOT County maintenance manager, Adam Bechtel, down in Mifflin, Juniata. He recognized in Mifflin some concerns on US Route 22, the bypass around Lewistown. There was bituminous pavement delamination. It appears as though it's just pulling off of the previous base, the concrete base. And he approached us, Lee Warrich and Eric Murniak, about some concerns that he had down there and an interest to a significant, more than just preservation, more than just maintenance. We're going to need to go in there and actually create a project. So we're working towards finalizing a scope for the need there. We're talking about 2.5 miles, I believe, of bituminous pavement on both north. I guess it's north and south or east and west, and possibly some areas that include some ramps as well. So this amendment is to utilize some funds that we were able to identify so that we could initiate the preliminary engineering phase, get any kind of survey and design needs pulled together with that, and then to pull together funds for the construction phase that we're anticipating to be about a $2.5 million project. So we want to take any questions on that?
Sure. Yep. Any questions for Mark on the amendment as presented?
Mark, this is Jim Latier. Do you know more precisely where this area is? What municipality?
It's right. It's through and near the industrial exit on 22.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Our other amendment is for the 220 corridor highway restoration. This is another interest similar to the 64 concrete preservation. We have this project identified on the draft tip. We're interested in advancing some preliminary engineering funds to jumpstart this project, as I mentioned in the comments there, for survey and for photogrammetry, so that we can get in there and get a good survey. The limits for this concrete highway restoration project could be expansive. We're trying to identify where we need to start, and I believe that I mentioned at the last meeting, some of our focus has kind of leaning towards 220 in the 220 corridor, with the future completion of the high-speed interchange, the future identification of trailblazing for Interstate 99. Leading traffic through the 220 corridor into the north and up to back to I-99 in District 3. So, any questions on this 220 corridor highway restoration? What you see on this one is it's a small portion of funds, $100,000 that gets pulled into 2026, where we will rely on the funds on the draft 2027 tip to more fully support the project.
Great. Thank you, Mark, for covering those. If there are no other questions or discussion on them, we would look for a motion to approve both the US 22 and 220 projects in Mifflin and Clinton counties as presented.
I'll make a motion. This is Jim Latier.
Thank you, Jim, for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Greg Moulter.
Second by Greg Moulter. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. Thanks, Mark, for the rundown, and appreciate you connecting in the time that you could here today.
Thank you. Appreciate it, everyone.
And next are the District 3 amendments. If you want to cover those first, Chris, on pages 19 and 20 of the packet. And page 9.
Steve.
Yep. Page 19 was updated, just some of the funding codes. So what the initial packet sharing had there was revised slightly. And so that's what's in our updated information for today. So thanks, Chris.
Yep, the First Amendment is simply federalizing an existing project that's currently state funded, but under the terms of the MOU, that triggers an amendment. So nothing else about the project changed. It's just bridge preservation activities, painting and steel repairs on a number of bridges on routes 54, 1022, and 4049 over Fishing Creek, and also Route 42 over Little Fishing Creek, all in Columbia County. And did you want to do one amendment at a time, Steve, or?
We can vote on both in tandem. So if you want to go to the next
Okay.
one on page
Yep.
20, that'd be great. Yep.
And the second one is a new project that is an amendment, obviously, to add a new project, the upgrade of the 901 interchange lighting on Route 61 to LED. This project is going to use regional CRP funds, carbon reduction program. Been pretty successful in getting our lighting systems upgraded with those funds, so it's been a real win-win.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris on either the multiple bridges or the carbon reduction program lighting amendment? Or none, we look for a motion to approve both these amendments as presented, and then we will submit the electronic STIP amendments into the SharePoint system after today. So do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Greg.
Greg, thank you for the motion. Is there a second?
Second, Justin Scabry.
Okay, Justin Scavery, thank you for the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, thank you. Chris, anything else you wanted to highlight from pages
Yeah,
20, 21
I'll
on?
pick a couple highlights, and then if there's anything I didn't talk about, you can hit me up after the meeting or during the meeting or whenever you'd like. We have a slight increase on a project, a low bid, about 400,000 to resurface Route 405 and also do some bridge preservation work in Sunbury and also Upper Augusta Township. That's on page 21. You see a couple entries on pages 22 and 23 for a new project that was approved at the last meeting. It was an amendment to systemically address some lane departures with Highway Safety Improvement Program funds in Columbia and Northumberland counties. A lot of minor adjustments. If you go down to page 24, see we added a new study project, generally looking at the intersections of Route 15 with routes 44 and 54 in Union County and Lycoming County as well. Mostly related to development in that corridor. Scrolling down, if you going on the middle of page 25, we have an increase for a project on Route 11 near County Line Road. To that project supplying high friction surface treatment, also safety funded. See on the next page a construction increase for resurfacing in Union County of Forest Hill Road from routes 45 to 192. Nothing else too major to call out on here. I guess I would just open it up to any questions at this point.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions on any of the adjustments we're occurring in District 3? Hearing none, we can segue right into keeping you on the docket, Chris,
Yep.
if that's okay for the CSVT project updates.
Sounds good, Steve. So the southern section structures contract will be 100% complete next month. Less than a month, really. We're calling it 99% complete now. All the bridges and noise walls are essentially complete. Just again, some cleanup items. The southern section paving contract again went to Trumbull and Golden Triangle for 186 million. They're working on the drainage installations and initial excavating, grading, clearing, grubbing, all that work. I'm sure if you're in the area, you've seen them out there already. UGI, if you've noticed, is beginning utility relocations along the old trail, North Old Trail, and PP&L is working on relocations on South Old Trail. And just as a reminder, the main line is still anticipated to be open fall of next year. And then the CSVT, the 61 connector in the fall of the following year, 28. As I noted at the last meeting, the southern interchange with routes 11 and 15 and 522 will see a new ramp stub and traffic signal that's going to allow traffic to turn left from the northbound off ramp to head directly south on Route 522. That had been going back and forth between being included or not, based on municipal agreements. So that will be fully in place and functional at that late 27 opening date for the main line. And as an additional add-on project, the ITS devices designs are getting wrapped up. The bids will be open this summer for a contract to install those boards on each direction of the main line and cameras at the interchanges. So any questions on CSVT?
Real quick, could you mention for folks some of the plans for Ridge Road? And I think there'll be a public meeting occurring maybe sometime this spring related to that as well, as far as kind of the mitigating factors for CSVT changes.
Yeah, we have a project also funded through really the CSVT allocation at central office. So this isn't regional funding, but it's a big project. It's currently programmed at 17 million. I think it's going to be increased to closer to 19 or 20 with the draft tip update to improve Ridge Road, basically from CSVT side over to Route 11. And we are going to be advertising a public meeting for this summer to discuss general plans for that project. It's not going to be a realignment or anything, but it is going to need some structural improvements to the pavement and some slight geometry improvements. So it's been kind of in the works for a while now. There's a lot of engineering involved. It's 6-mile long section, so it was recognized from the beginning of CSVT that road was going to be something that could see additional traffic, depending on how patterns established as a result of CSVT. So it is on the department's website, and public outreach will be advertised.
Thank you, Chris. And I see, Lisa, you have your hand raised, so please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious, is that a PennDOT road all connecting to Route 11 there? I know there's a couple different routes takes to get there?
That's a PennDOT road. It's known
Oh.
as State Route 1024. It's called
Okay.
Ridge Road locally. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Great updates there, and a lot of progress being made, and certainly more now that the weather's going to be turning. So thanks.
You bet.
Next is item F on our agenda. It's our typical work program staff activity reporting. Runs pages 32 to 46. A lot of what is in the staff report we're going to either cover on later agenda items, or they're pretty self-explanatory, so I won't really dwell on those from the early parts of this section, but I will go ahead and open up for Don if you'd like to share a little bit on the NEVI community charging program, and then also on the LTAP events and activities that are going on.
Yeah, just briefly, our central region, including all the SEDA COG MPO counties, are on the list for projects and supporting work to be advertised and opened up by PennDOT in, we'll say midsummer, July to August time period. So I've been notifying some interested parties that some preliminary things can be done. You can get on their website and you can register as an interested party, for example, and that helps potentially to put those folks together with contractors that can do some of the planning and implementation work. So we'll be following that, and as next couple of months go by, we'll be reaching out to everybody again on some of the things that are coming forward from PennDOT. So as a reminder, though, PennDOT will have about $2 million in funding to be able to put toward establishment of charging stations in our counties. On the LTAP side, we've been very busy with spring classes. We've had, I think, maybe a record number of them that have been requested and are in the process of going on in the spring here. One of the most notable ones is the leadership development class. We just had it over at Point Township on Ridge Road yesterday and had a good attendance from even outside our own counties. So PennDOT is essentially putting together new classes that are more organizationally oriented, which I think is a really good thing at this time. So a couple other things. We normally sponsor 2 additional classes that technically are not PennDOT or technically not LTAP classes, but they're very much like LTAP classes, but with field components to them. And in June, we'll be having a chainsaw safety class, date yet to be determined, but we also have a class on equipment operator training that'll be coming up on July 24th, and we'll be notifying folks about signing up for that because both of those classes are capacity controlled. They both have field components. People attending can get out and test out various kinds of equipment and get some hands-on experience about safely using chainsaws as well. So it's not too late to request classes yet for this spring, but we'll be starting to look toward fall as well before too long. And there's been good attendance in the classes so far. So I'll leave it at that for my update, I guess.
Thank you, Don. Else in this section, I'll just highlight on page 40. This is something new that we've inserted. It's our annual implementation progress report for the strategic plan. If you recall, that was adopted by the MPO back in mid-2024. And so we went through some of these different priority goal areas and indicators that Gannett Fleming had put together for us in the strategic plan that we should track and follow. And so this little info type graphic, pages 40 and 41 covers that material. So we went through and had the baseline for 2024 and then put numbers to our 2025 efforts as staff and as the MPO organization and body. So if you have questions about that, if you have recommendations, feel free to let us know afterward, but we'll try to update that again for 2026 and report that back out to you. LTAP is one of the things in here we cover under the intergovernmental coordination in terms of kind of the technical assistance pieces that are completed through that. So you saw a rise in those, and we also kind of can factor in the PennDOT Connect's technical assistance pieces there as well. We talk about public and stakeholder engagement. We had a ton of that through the long range plan, the transportation improvement program, surveying and listening sessions. Also in 2024 with the coordinated transit plan. So good engagement and input and comments from the general public, not just primary organizations and stakeholders, but transit riders and just members of the public at large. So we have that in there. And then for 2025, it was more of the statewide transportation commission results and collecting and pouring through those. And then also for the electric vehicle surveys and the sessions we had done last year to inform our recommendations to PennDOT on priority charging station locations and use cases that Don was working on submitting those tables. So otherwise on this for the funding side of things, on page 41, we highlighted some of the major grant programs and how we get requested or we're actively working with who we know are primary champions for interested municipalities going after these grant programs, and note some of that, and also about the active transportation workshop that we had started some of that early game planning and organizing logistics in 2025, and we held that recently. We'll talk about later on the active transportation committee side. And then the data and information is a lot of the kind of the GIS, the data analysis, and online maps. What we've been doing with our trail count program under that as well. And then these visualizations, we've really implemented that in 2025 for how we're providing, like was seen earlier on the slide, the Google Street View for some of the major amendments and administrative action items that are occurring, and the one map status reports and visuals there, and also additional ArcGIS online map tools and visuals that we've been producing here as staff or with our consultant teams as well. So we'll do that again, and if you have any tips, recommendations, or anything else you'd like to see related to that strategic plan and how we're tracking the progress, just let us know. Other things in this section are the typical TA project set-aside status reporting, and then the highway occupancy permit activity, and the traffic impact study scoping applications that get submitted in case you're not monitoring those. And I think there'll be some more to come from what I've heard on some of the e-permitting system and response times and meetings and such related to those permits. So we can share that when that comes together. Any other comments or discussion on the staff activity reporting?
I have a question. Does anyone know when the TASA awards are gonna be made for the 25 projects?
The last word we have is April, May, but we're a little bit into April now and have not seen. So whether it occurs this month yet, I'm not sure. Hopefully no later than May. I don't know if anybody else from PennDOT has heard anything beyond that, but that was kind of our guesstimate, was April, May timeframe.
Yeah, the most current status I've heard is probably the end of spring, so probably more towards the May timeframe.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Nathan. And then the PennDOT multimodal round applications are still under consideration as well for the most recent round. And the DCD multimodal fund round is open now through July 31st on some of those primary state programs. Not hearing any other questions or seeing raised hands, so we'll go ahead and move right into agenda item G next. And kind of annually, we try to make sure we have a slot dedicated for Betsy Lockwood and her team to share about the Appalachian Regional Commission Local Access Road Program and stirring up maybe some additional interest or project ideas from the membership and to connect with her. So we do have the guidelines falling within the packet on pages 48 to 53, and I'll turn the floor over to Betsy and Elaine if you're there as well.
Thanks, Steve. And thank you for the opportunity to present today. I I know that the ARC local access road guidelines are in your notes, and I've also brought copies today in case you'd like to send them out to your communities. So my name is Betsy Lockwood. I think I know most of you around the table here. I'm the Director of Project Development Grants for our Economic Development Program. And then this is my colleague, Elena Hemphill, and she works with me on all ARC and EDA projects. So SEDA COG serves as a local development district for the Appalachian Regional Commission. And one of our responsibilities is to help identify and develop competitive projects for ARC funding. And so I'm here today to talk with you about the local access road program. Just to let you know that we're actively seeking projects, which we will submit to the state this summer. And some examples of projects that have been funded or are currently being funded by ARC LAR funding is Seals Grove Industrial Park. That one I think just started breaking ground here recently. We also worked on the expansion of Commerce Drive in Ormond Township.
Got a
And
flashlight.
the moved in. That was several years ago. We also did Timber Run, Lycoming County, across from the landfill. That was an ARC access road project. And finally, we're working with the town of Bloomsburg on the Fort McClure Boulevard project, which improves access to the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds. That one hasn't been awarded funding yet, but we are hopeful that that one will be awarded funding soon. All these projects that you'll see economic development related, so they're serving industry or business. So we're, businesses are served, jobs may be created, retained. Revenue, in the instance of the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds, tourism revenue is an economic development factor. So this is really an economic development program. So as you're looking at projects, we want to see, job creation, businesses served, tourism revenue increase. We'd like to see those impacts, as part of it. So if you're aware of any projects, please let me know. For projects that are designated as transitional by the Appalachian Regional Commission, they will fund up to 100% of a project. But in order to be competitive among all the access road projects, ARC and DCED do like to see some skin in the game. So even though they can fund up to 100%, they're going to want to see some local match or state match. So that's my presentation on the local access road program. I'd be willing to help answer any questions that anyone has on this program, if there are any. But we're seeking projects, so if you have any ideas for projects, let me know. We can sometimes get one and maybe two access road projects funded per year through ARC. I think there's about 5 million of ARC local access road funds statewide, usually available every year. So as you think of projects, let me know, and we'll help develop and create those applications for you for funding. And I just wanted to mention one other item. Beginning July 1st, SEDA COG staff will start to charge communities and nonprofits for help with writing grants. We had a federal grant program that expires June 30th. So just to cover our costs, we will be charging a small fee to help communities and nonprofits with developing, for instance, local share account applications, multimodal applications, those types of things. So as you're, letting folks know about these transportation programs, feel free to refer them to us. But I just wanted to let you know that we will July 1st need to start covering usually a nominal fee, $200 to help write a grant. And it goes up depending on the complexity of the overall application. So we still like projects to go through the county planning agencies. For instance, we wouldn't want to fund, or not fund, but help 3 or 4 communities in one county with maybe multimodal applications. We're hoping that the county planners can help us prioritize which projects we should be going after, just like we were doing several years ago. Really like to get the approval of the county planners before moving forward. So, yeah, yep. Yeah, we see that a lot. Different counties having multiple applications and you're essentially fighting against each other, in terms of competitiveness, so. And that's all I have.
Thank
Lisa,
you,
I
Betsy.
think, had a hand.
Lisa?
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you to Betsy and Elena there for all the help and support on our application. The question I have, I totally get the application fee, but what application or ongoing fee does SEDA COG provide? Like if we were awarded the ARC, and I know we had that other one there on Old Berwick Road that we couldn't move forward on, but what is the fee that SEDA COG seeks after, an official award?
So for access road projects, those are usually administered by PennDOT.
Okay.
So we don't usually get involved with those types of projects. Again, in terms of administration of other projects, it really depends on the complexity of the project. And we usually work with our community development program that is very familiar with administering federal construction projects. Although
Great.
my program might get involved with that too at some point. Yes.
So if it wasn't a municipality in this case, like I'm thinking Dillon Center, eventually, if we would have kind of like a private landowner that's interested in ARC, is that still a PennDOT administer of the grant, or is that through the municipality then?
Well, private, so is it a privately owned road or privately owned project?
It's currently privately owned right now, but it would be seeking, after like the development, relaying the roadway back to the municipality.
So in order for them to even apply, the road that's being improved needs to be owned by a public entity.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
And just on the earlier around, Betsy, we had received the PennDOT letter for Lisa's project there at the Bloomsburg Fairground entrance, and the PennDOT agreed to administer the project. Do you kind of have a rough time frame when, like, the DCD approvals might be coming out for that last submission?
We are waiting on the town of Bloomsburg to send us some engineering documents before we can, the project has been submitted. DCED has asked us for additional information and we're waiting on their engineers to provide it. So I'm hoping that the sooner we can get the documentation in, the sooner we can hear of an award. I'm hoping if this happens by the end of April, maybe we could hear an award in the June, July timeframe.
Okay, great, excellent. And with this being a rolling basis, members can get in touch with you obviously all throughout the year. If something comes up that maybe they didn't initially know about here today or foresee for calendar year 2026. So appreciate all you do on that.
Thank
And the
you.
other one we're still tracking on our table is the Milton Borough Marsh Road construction project. Obviously, that has had several issues and constraints and environmental impacts and such over time. Is there anything coming out of DCD that you've heard about that for any revocation or anything, or is that still just on pause?
I haven't heard anything, but I do know that the Milton Borough manager, Jess, has moved on. So I think that they've got somebody new in there. So it might be paused for a little bit till they can get up to speed.
Okay.
I do believe that the, what is it, the toad, spadefoot toad is still an issue. When we submitted this application previously, we were under the understanding that spadefoot toad, that there, we would be easily able to get past that issue. I don't think it's been as easy, but, so they're still dealing with the spadefoot toad issue. And I think that the borough manager, having left, is putting them a little bit more behind as well.
Or yep, understood.
So I'm hoping that one moves forward at some point. I'd like to see that move forward.
Okay. Thank you for the information. Any other questions anyone has for Betsy today?
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
I've got the access road guidelines here, so if anybody wants to grab some, feel free to give them to your communities. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. They're now up to item H, and now we're getting into our approvals, action items again, for the comment periods on the Transportation Improvement Program and the Long Range Plan. So I'll just cover briefly here, introduction, and then Kristen will take over for the 2027 to 2030 tip. So when we last met, we had the highway and bridge project listings, presented and included, along with the typical at-a-glance charts we like to do. Really distills and summarizes the information. So since the January 30th MPO meeting, looking at the at-a-glance charts, I wanted to highlight we pretty much have all the statewide managed projects, I believe, covered now through that. The railroad grade crossing projects, I think, are still outstanding, but there was a little bit of an uptick since January. So I'm looking at the separate tip packet that you would have gotten as a download, or those of you in the room hopefully have your links to that. But there are 269 total projects on the draft tip. That was an increase of a little bit since January due to the Highway Safety Improvement Program set aside funds were announced, since we last met. So we were glad to see those approved for within the region. State Route 235 High Friction Surface Treatment Project in Juniata County received those funds, and then Interstate 80 High Tension Cable Median Barrier Project in Montour County was successfully awarded those statewide set aside funds in districts 2 and 3. And also the Transportation System Management Operations projects, that capital program that is managed at a statewide level. We had seen both the projects on Route 22 for addressing changeable message boards and signs, and then Juniata County, and also within Mifflin County for those road weather information systems and message boards as well. So that those projects and their funding was added to the tip. A couple other maybe just minor adjustments that occurred, or things that were going to be able to be taken off of the 2027 tip and covered under the 2025 tip. But that increased our project total number numerically, and then also the amount rose a little bit over $500 million now. And you see the listing on the at-a-glance chart on some of the other breakouts and bullets, but wanted to note again that we do have $137 million in change committed to the CSVT project, so that is making up a sizable chunk. But as those contracts are all being awarded and implemented, that funding is coming down as a percentage of the tip, certainly. There were 7 line item projects for some of those safety and like the carbon reduction program funds and some of the group bridge line item type funds within the tip as well, for about $23 million in change. And on that page 1, just noting the comment period that Kristen will cover here as well, we highlighted that. But as far as the charts, if you were to go through those, no great sweeping changes here, but you can see the construction's 85% and pre-construction 15% of the total tip value. And hopefully we get things under control with the oil and diesel prices, and for these projects that are going to be worked on this summer and into the fall. And then looking at the project status, new projects, there are 61 total new projects onto the tips, the ones that didn't appear previously with any of the pre-construction or construction phases. And the number of projects pretty evenly split, roadway versus bridge. So 115 on state roadway systems and 114 on state bridge. And then 30 local bridges total. So carrying over a number of projects, but then we were able to add some new projects as well. And then safety projects were 10 total safety projects on the tip. And then the funding by type, the majority going in the roadway, a lot of reconstruction, resurfacing, and normal other maintenance modes. And then state bridge, 162 million, local bridge at 31 million, and the safety projects at 14 million over the 4-year period. Funding by county charts, Snyder County is rising to the top, obviously with the CSVT construction of $118 million within Snyder, so that's outsized influence there. And then you can see the splits fairly even across the other member counties and using the allocations available. Except for the CSVT in Northumberland as well, like the Ridge Road project that Chris was covering earlier, 19 or so million dollars committed to that. And so that was what I was going to cover as far as the at-a-glance charts, and I will turn things over to Kristen to talk about the other preparations and for the comment period and everything.
Sure, thank you. So as Steve mentioned, we're going to be seeking to go out for public comment starting April 22nd through, and that would be through May 22nd. And we do have a public meeting scheduled at the Union County Government Center for May 4th, and that will be in the morning. We also have a public participation panel scheduled for April 21st. As you may recall, we started the public participation panel a couple of years ago to try to involve public service agencies and others across the region who generally represent underrepresented individuals in their day-to-day work. So we will be having that on the 21st. I don't know if anyone has any additional questions, but we would seek to have a motion to approve issuing the draft tip for public comment. Thank you, Lynn.
Second.
Greg, thank you. Second. All in favor? Okay, any nays? Any abstentions? Thank you. So we'll be moving that. We're finishing up some the minor items at the end and getting ready to put all the packets together. And so you'll be seeing one of the staff probably coming to visit you with hard copy packets as per our requirements. So, look forward to that. Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen. Up next is you and Brian for the long-range plan, if you feel you should take away.
Brian, do you want to share the screen?
Yes, can you see it, Kristen?
Not yet. There we go. Yep.
Great.
Thank you. So the two major initiatives that have been going on for a while include the TIP, obviously, and then the long range transportation plan. This was not included physically in your packet printed out, but it was linked in the meeting packet email. So it is all out there on the website, as well as a story map, which I believe is what Brian is sharing right now. So if you want to go ahead, Brian, with just a basic overview and then.
Sure. Yeah, there's been a lot of work done on the long range plan update since the last MPO meeting back in January. I know we briefed everyone at the end of January as to where things stood, but a lot of the work that we've done since then has really been involved with summarizing all of the data collection and analysis, the outreach to the public and stakeholders, and the development of strategic actions. All of that work is really culminated in what you see here. What we have on the screen here is the story map version of the long range plan. And again, the plan itself is available either in this story map format or as a PDF. As Kristen said, it's also available on the story map site. We've also continued to meet with our plan steering committee. We've met with that group 5 times over the course of this update process. Our most recent meeting with them was back in February, and we reviewed the draft plan with them and took any final comments that they had on the draft as it came together. So I think for our purposes this morning, just by way of briefing, I wanted to give you an overview of where things stand now. Ultimately, what we're looking for from the MPO today is a motion to release the plan as a draft, to be able to release that for the public review and comment period, just so we can go through that process, so we can get a final version ready for your adoption at the June meeting. So that's really our prime objective today, is just make sure everyone's comfortable with what we're planning to put out on the street for public review and comment. And I just want to use the story map as a vehicle or a way of conveying that to you here this morning. So I think most of us are familiar with story maps at this point. It's really a great way to make our planning products more visual and certainly much more accessible to the public. And I think if anyone of the public interacts with the plan, they're going to do it through the story map that you see here. So just by way of overview, anyone who logs on to the story map in the future will see this, we refer to it as a hero image, but they'll see this image of Old Route 22 here in Juniata County, just north of Thompsontown. And the story map has different chapters, if you will, where the viewer can log on and look at different aspects of the long-range plan. There's multiple ways to be able to access the information that occurs within the plan. And it does include a section on regional existing conditions. And over the years, we've tried to streamline the plan presentation. Sections within the plan are really composed of pithy statements of fact, followed by a variety of planning implications. You know, we do our best to try to tell the reader, you know, what do these things mean? You know, when we talk about the extent or the condition or the performance of the transportation system, we do more than that, want to go beyond that and just tell the reader, what does it mean? What are the implications for planning? What are the things that the MPO needs to address over time as it relates to regional transportation? So we do have a section here within the existing conditions that address all the modes of transportation within throughout the region. We also have a section on CSVT. This is not typical, although some planning partners have done this, you know, call out a certain roadway within the region. We felt it was particularly relevant, you know, given the planned opening of the southern section next year, and we felt it was very appropriate to have a standalone section on what's one of the largest public works projects in the state. We also have information in here on the MPO's work on functional classification. After the flag analysis work that we did last summer, I know Dawn and Sam and others on staff have been working with PennDOT and FHWA on an eventual recommendation for changes to the region's functional classification scheme. And with plan adoption being scheduled for this June, we know that's going to precede really any formal action on functional classification. So we kept that fairly general. Other sections of the plan include the revenue forecast. That just provides the reader with an overview of the amount of revenue that the MPO has available to invest in the transportation system over the various planning periods. Another major section in the plan includes one on environmental resources. This is a federal requirement that we collaborate with representatives from environmental resource agencies as to transportation's impact on the environment. We did have meetings with both of the district environmental managers back in February, kind of as a precursor to a consultation that we had with ACM just a couple weeks ago, back on March 25th. So at that meeting, we presented some of the initial considerations that are included within the long-range plan as it relates to the environment. We talked about a variety of topics, including threatened and endangered species. Bats came up a lot with a lot of the district's project work, although the districts did tell us they haven't had any projects get delayed due to bats. But the MPO does have a line item on the tip for bat surveys. One other need that was expressed was the potential for maybe a line item for future stormwater facility improvements. That may not be something we typically think about when we think about transportation, but the fact is there's a lot of stormwater facility improvements region-wide that really require a lot of engineering work, engineering studies and reconstruction. And a lot of those costs really can't be handled by the counties, and they are serious needs. The region's stormwater facilities really aren't up to where they need to be. Other environmental issues that were flagged include, you'll see some here with regard to habitat fragmentation. That's a really hot topic. The districts are looking at ways to accommodate wildlife movement through their projects, but the fact is, a large majority of projects on the tip are things like betterments or bridge replacements. But in spite of that, there are still opportunities to improve on this through larger corridor projects. And in Clinton County, for example, there are upgrades that are needed along Route 220, and the district is going to be looking at trying to address habitat fragmentation as part of their design work. And then finally, there was other conversation on aquatic resource impacts, and both districts do a good job minimizing impacts there. They have had several wetland mitigation banks, but they're all closed out, but it does have private bank credit purchases available. And there are also some bank options in Juniata and in Clinton counties. The plan also addresses the work that the MPO has done with engaging the public participation and outreach to stakeholders. And there's been a lot of work done in this area. This includes not only a public survey that the MPO administered, but also leveraging the STC survey that was done last year as part of the program update. And I know many of you will remember the regional listening sessions that were held back in November before last. MPO staff hosted several listening sessions at multiple locations across the region, including Lock Haven, Lewisburg, Lewistown, and Elysburg. And it was good to have representation from Knoebels. It was at our Elysburg session. And travel and tourism is one of the areas that we need our plans to address. So it was good to have representation from them there to talk about some of the impacts that transportation and circulation have on travel and tourism as it relates to their operation there. Then finally, the plan also includes numerous strategic directions. And again, these are loosely based on the federal planning factors that you see here. I think there's 9 or 10 planning factors overall. Each one is supported by a number of specific directions or action items that the MPO is going to be tackling over the near term. So there are references in here to CSVT, implementation work regarding previous studies that the MPO has done, such as the Danville area transportation study, the corridor study of Route 522. There's things like the work that Don Keel led on the EV charging station study. So there's a number of things like that that are included within the strategic directions. And again, these just include things like mobility, accessibility, travel and tourism, economic development potential, and things like that. And then finally, the plan also includes a project listing, which includes more detailed information on the 12-year program, illustrative projects that have been evaluated and scored by MPO staff, and other project listings related to the interstate and transit projects. And from here, I'd like to go to some key dates that we have coming up. Kristen mentioned a public participation panel that's coming up here on April 21st. We're also planning to launch the 30-day public review and comment period for the plan. That's going to run over the dates that you see there. And that's going to be highlighted by a public open house that's going to be held on May 4th in Lewisburg, and will be an opportunity for the public to be able to come for face-to-face interaction with MPO staff, consulting team members, to provide any comments or input that they have on the draft plan. All of that hopefully will get us to the point when we get together for our June meeting. We'll be looking for a motion from the MPO to adopt the plan as part of that meeting on June 12th. So again, that's just an overview of where things stand with plan development, and kind of a look ahead at some of the things we're going to be involved in here over the next couple of weeks, getting the plan ready for adoption.
Thank you, Brian.
Kristen, I'll leave if you had anything additional you wanted to share.
Sure. So we're able to kind of run these public comment periods in conjunction between the LRTP and the TIP. So for example, we'll have the public meeting on one day, and it will be at, I think at 9 o'clock, we'll go over the TIP, and then at about 10:15, we'll move into the LRTP component, so that everyone has an opportunity to hear those, and we're not spreading that out over too much time. And then also just mentioning that will be a hybrid meeting. So if anybody wants to participate virtually, they can do that. So does anyone have any questions or comments on the plan specifically, or for Brian or myself? Steve, I didn't know if you had any additional comments before requesting a motion to approve issuing the draft for public comment.
Just real briefly, thanks Brian for running through that story map. We try to do that obviously for any major plan anymore, and it's a nice way to digest it. So thanks for running through that. Hopefully folks found that valuable. And that, as you saw, did not have the project listing, the illustrative projects. So there'll be a couple slight modifications to these materials, closer to the comment period starting. And the project map of the illustrative projects will be added to the PDF of the report and then reflected on this page as well. So those are just two kind of outstanding items. And then eventually a summation of any public comments that are submitted and what the pertinent responses are to them will get inserted. But 99% of what you see here today is what will go out for the comment period. So just want to make that quick note of those outstanding items.
Yeah, and the listing of the discretionary projects is in the most recent version of the draft. So it just didn't make its way onto the story map yet. So did Lisa, I think you may have had your hand up.
No, I was just saying, I put the little emoji, like, congratulations. I know it's a lot of work, and it's probably a good feeling to get to this point. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, there's no other questions. If we could have a motion to approve issuing the draft LRTP for public comment.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Jim. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any all in favor? Any nays? Any abstentions? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kristen. Thanks, Brian. And thanks,
Thank you.
everyone on the MPO board. As you said, there's a lot to get to this stage, and you have to kick off the update 30 months in advance with all the coordination and analysis and everything. So we appreciate all your involvement and the steering committee throughout as well. So glad for that. And next up is item J. This is just a verbal or active transportation committee update. Primary one is talking about the workshop, the active transportation workshop that we had sponsored and held on March 20th over at the CSIU in Montandan. I know some of you were in attendance that day, and appreciate that. And great thanks go to Sam Pearson from the PA Downtown Center. She was really key to bring all the presentation materials together and logistics. It was great to work with her throughout, and Betsy Kramer from SEDA COG as well, along with Kristen, Sam, myself, and the Greenway Partnership is kind of the main entities behind putting it together. But we ended up having 49 individuals attend across a wide array of different disciplines: county, local governments, public transportation, legislators, county commissioners, um, advocacy groups, downtown groups, and many thanks to Lisa Doley as well for being part of the presentation team, and Charlie Fritz from the town of Bloomsburg as to talk about a best practice example for the Bloomsburg Area Recreational Trail. So a lot of good content was covered, informational items, and then there was time to connect with one another during the day as well. I know there's been some momentum. Some meetings have been scheduled since then to talk with some municipalities about potential projects and getting those to advance. So that was, a key outcome and kind of what it was targeted to do. And then also during the day, we had broken out into 4 groups and did walking audits nearby. And so folks could check out nearby facilities, kind of what's working, what's not, what's missing. And then a few folks were able to get on the Rabbit Transit bus, thanks to Rabbit Transit for providing that, and go to areas a little bit further away and check out walking and biking accommodations, lack thereof perhaps, or potential new facilities that could be constructed in the future or built. So I thought it was a great day, and we were glad to sponsor that. Maybe could do additional ones in the future, or other specific funding workshops particular as well on active transportation. Any questions, comments from the group on the active transportation workshop? If not, the other thing I wanted to mention was our regional bike ped plan is from 2019, and we are going to look to adopt that, and we started scoping that out, and hopefully, over the next 12 to 15 months, we will get that fully revamped and updated, cover the entire 8-county region, and become a full-blown active transportation plan, consistent with what others across the state have been doing, and hopefully line up our municipalities and other groups for success. So I wanted to mention that we'll be working with y'all and with the Active Transportation Committee, over the next 12, 13 months or so to update that, and some more to come as that comes together. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, then we're up to item K. We did have a few items in the packet. If you're following along, pages 55 to 65, I'll cover a couple of these briefly before turning to others. So on page 55 is kind of the normal things that we have been following along there, but on the Bridge and Safety Infrastructure for Community Success Act, just mentioned that things are still percolating through Congress and the committees for the next federal transportation bill reauthorization. We'll see what ultimately lands, or if they meet the deadline before the bill expires September 30th, 2026. But as we get more reliable information, we'll certainly share that with you. On page 56, I did want to highlight the Safe Streets and Roads for All program that is currently open for applications, whether they be planning, demonstration grants, or the implementation funds. So if you're interested, or if any of your communities, municipalities are interested, I know we've highlighted that here in this section and links, but feel free to do that. It's the last year of funding available through the bipartisan infrastructure law, so hopefully we'll see it continue on in future bills. But there's about $1 billion available nationwide, and there's a certain amount that should be set aside for planning grants, like we've seen successfully awarded within our region to Lewisburg and East Buffalo Township and Mifflin County underway now as well, and the city of Shamokin, who had completed their action plan. And then there's the construction and implementation dollars that are available for those that have an approved action plan that they can cite and refer to. And then on page 57, just wanted to note the State College Area Connector project like the CSVT, that's one of the largest, obviously, in the entire Commonwealth, underway and being worked on. I know Mifflin County in particular may be interested in this. The comment period on the draft environmental impact statement is open from March 6th through April 20th. I forget if the public meeting was already held or not, but if you are interested in learning more about those alternatives and what the environmental impact study says, you can feel free to check out PennDOT's website there. And the District
Steve,
2
we
team.
did, sorry to interrupt. We did have the public hearing on Tuesday of this week. So we'll be working on addressing comments here and getting responses so we can prepare the FEIS.
Great, thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. And then that was it that I wanted to cover from the Inter-Science report. But I wanted to next give opportunity to Emily Kelkis from Rabbit Transit to discuss the transit asset management performance targets that we included in your packet on page 59, and anything that she would like to highlight or ask questions of the group of related to that.
Thank you so much. So our TAM plan, Transit Asset Management Plan, we update it every year and every 4 years as well. So for the fiscal year 2026, this is just saying this is what our targets are. We hope to have for our rolling stock, we hope to have less than 7% of our vehicles at or past their useful life benchmark. For the equipment, which includes non-revenue vehicles and like maintenance and tires and everything like that, we're hopeful to have less than 26% past useful life benchmark. And for facilities, we include the current building at Cameron Street in Harrisburg, which is very old, so that kind of increases the percentage to 13. But we will be creating a new building at the adjacent site, so that will kind of, once that's done, it will lower our target percent to 0, because most of our buildings are either new or in very good condition. For the safety targets, we are hoping to have like 0 fatalities, 0 injuries, or 0.25 injuries, just because, it's inevitable. And so these are just the targets for this upcoming fiscal year.
Great,
And
thank you, Emily.
the full TAM plan can be, I sent that in the chat. So if you want to look at the full TAM plan, that is where you can find it.
Great, thank you much, Emily. Appreciate you highlighting that information and sharing that with us. It's part of the kind of the collaborative, planning process and how we work together with public transit operators, with the MPO transportation planning processes as well. And we do have at least 2 other transit operators on STEP and Call It Ride service. Those are covered under the statewide group plan. So Rabbit Transit does its own asset management targets, and I think maybe Center area region does as well, the CATA in Center County. I'm not sure if there are others across the state as far as shared ride operations and such, but that's kind of a difference here, departure from STEP and Call a Ride service covering our region. They're represented by the statewide group plan.
Thank you so much.
Great, thanks for that information. And I'll just real quick comment on we had a recent call on Stop Hopper service microtransit within the region. I know we had David present that recently as well to the membership, but everything sounds very strong. Still continuing on with the performance metrics there, so we're really pleased with that. We'll continue to be engaged in supporting that, advancing as much as we can within those zones that are covered, along with the other typical transit operations within the region. So just wanted to highlight that for folks that it's still meeting all the benchmarks and exceeding them
Yeah,
essentially.
it's
So
definitely exceeding.
great. And for benefit of everyone else, maybe Emily, you're the primary contact now and manager then for the stop hopper
For the
micro
stop
transit
hopper, yep.
service. Great. Excellent. Appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing that. Something
Thank you.
else, multimodal related here we had as well as in the packet on page 60. Had shared this last week, I guess, with Jim Latier and Jeff Eisman, certainly based on their interest. And then it's here for the entire MPO as well. A news release on planned renovations at the Amtrak station in Lewistown. So those accessibility upgrades will be kicking off. I guess maybe they did already this week on Tuesday the 7th, but you'll see the concrete boarding platform address for ADA accessibility, updated LED platform lighting and signage, new passenger drop-off zone, and 2 ADA compliant parking stalls for access to the facility, a new entrance door and windows for the waiting room, renovated ADA compliant restroom, and new HVAC system as well. So I'm glad to see. I know we've been talking about those and wanting to see those advance, and those are being picked up here this construction season at the Lewistown station, which apparently is the oldest. I think maybe I heard that before, but considered to be the oldest depot served by Amtrak in the nation. So wanted to make sure we were sharing that press release and that statement in the packet here for folks. And we also include the District 3 construction overview, large notable projects that are planned within the MPO counties in District 3 in that news release as well. So this time, I'd like to open up to the full membership. Any other things that you wanted to discuss or reference here today?
I don't have anything, Steve.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Not hearing anything further, so I think we must have covered it sweepingly, and then we will move right into our final agenda item L for adjournment and to reconvene on June 12th, and we'll look to have adoption of those items that we approved for advertising here today, being the tip and the long range plan. And if there's anything else that comes up that you want to see on the agenda, feel free to let us know in the meantime, beyond our customary items. But that'll be our big focus for June, obviously, the adoption of those major plans, the tip and the long range plan. So we would look for a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else.
So moved.
Thank you. Was that Sean?
Yes.
All right. And do we have a second?
Second by Link.
All right. Thank you. All right. Probably moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Thank you all. Have a great weekend ahead, and we'll see you in June, if not before.
Yeah.